So it's been a while since I've posted what ranked looks like at some of the upper ranks. Currently I'm rank 40, at the end of this I think I finished 32, and we're going to go into it. So on Airborne 1, I always drift to the right and air flip again. Then you want to go through the left, air flip again, hit the boost pads, ideally 2 if you can, I can only manage 1 normally. And then release your speeds as they start to drop. So you notice as soon as my speeds start to drop, I basically released it. Here I actually missed the green boost pad. Very unfortunate. That's how this guy and everyone else starts getting ahead of me. Over here I wait, don't release my drift yet. See, now it's at about 570, so I release. Until it's near the bottom, you don't really want to release it. And this route right here, it's not significantly harder to learn than the other routes. It's just slightly different than my old route. Right there I hit a really nice make flip, drop down, and again I release one drift and then I drift as long as possible around this one so that I have speed that I'm carrying through here. This is what you were supposed to do, is turbo as you're hitting the boost pad, then change directions on the chain drift. Land and start a drift right away. Off the edge, air flip left, I get a little bit of a drift speed. Unfortunately the car collision doesn't allow me to get past this guy right here. So again, we flip over the corner, shaving off as much time as possible in the inside track. Here we don't get the make flip, I'm very inconsistent. I actually only learned this route about 15 minutes before this race. It's actually pretty funny, I raced it about 5 times. And again, the car keeps blocking me, I just can't get by him. He's physically blocking me even though I'm moving faster. So here I activate my turbo about half a second earlier than normal, or about 0.2 seconds. And on the third one, I go up on top here. I activated it early just so I can get the slight edge ahead of him. Here I wait to turbo so that when I drop down I still have high speed, so that when I air flip here, it gives me the extra speed on the air flip. That's why I didn't turbo right away. I know there was a lot to take in. Let's take a moment to breathe while we hop into the next game. I didn't edit anything out. Sorry, I didn't cut anything. I am editing. I'm going to do about 100 times the speed in between games so that you don't have to wait for the cues that I have to wait for. So we're 38 now. We started at 40. As you can see, the timer takes a while. Luckily in the other ones it didn't take too bad. We use this time to say feel free to like, subscribe, and more importantly, even on any of that, join the Discord. The link's in the description, and we do in-house races and teaching and all that stuff all the time. Okay, Airborne 2. I like this map. Very mechanical. I always try to get as many drifts as possible. Lower ranked players miss a lot of drifting opportunities because it's a very mechanical map to drift on. So right here, we're drifting along, and the old method was go up top where that guy is. But notice how I got a drift before him? It's because you got a long runway down below. You might as well use it. So here I do a mirror drift and a turbo, allowing me to get some pretty absurd speeds. Unfortunately, the speeds were too much for me to handle myself, so I missed the boost pad. But that's okay. We got all these 3. We drop down, and we now have a solid lead. We got one long drift. We release one small drift, so we have some in the air, because we're going to be carrying this one for a while. We try to hit as many of these as possible, drop down, and hit this one. We then do our same line. Drift, release, drop down, drift, jump up. And as you get better, you can actually hit both of those boost pads. I still am not doing that very often. Here my mirror drift didn't quite work. I got an awkward angle, but I think quick. I immediately hit the ground, jump up, and turbo like I normally would. This way I don't lose very much time. A couple boost pads, but that's it. These kind of quick thinkings would allow me to kind of stay at the higher ranks. Is even though I make mistakes, I can recover from them very fast. So again, a lot of drifting, jump off. I missed the boost pad there, but that's okay. I'm in a pretty comfortable position right now. Unfortunately, as I say that, I see that name tag start appearing behind me, and I'm like, uh-oh. I notice I need a little bit more drift, so I'm going to try the mirror drift again. I jump up, and this should get me the extra turbo I need by the end, and it does. I felt I was moving a little bit too fast to get the boost pad under there, so I turbo as soon as I hit the first boost pad here, and there we go. Another back-to-back first. Unfortunately, at my rank, I pretty well need first to climb ranks. Second, I don't believe gets me any ranks. I think it depends on the map. Some maps does, some maps doesn't. It depends how good the lobby is. Alright, Sidewinder. Drifting maps like Sidewinder and Anaconda are, in my opinion, some of my weakest ones. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I normally try to do 2 drifts at the start, like as you saw there. 1 and then 1 again. On laps 2 and 3, that's not the drift line I take through there, but at the start I was getting bumped so much that I was never able to hit my line. So here, the faster line is what those people did, which is drifting or jumping in the air and turboing. I find I just get just short turbo at the end if I do that though. Also, I'm not sure what happened to this guy at the very start here. He got some kind of absurd levels of speed. Like, he was so far ahead. But we are going to do our best to gain ground on him. So we always try to take that one a little bit wider and then this one a lot sharper. Notice how close we are to the inside track. And here the important part of Sidewinder is drift left, but don't release, drift right. Because your speed's still going. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of awkward angles on that one right there. And the awkward angles are because you're trying to drift right and you hit the coals before you get to the right spot. Being able to drift left and then back right allows you to realign nicer. So this is the line I normally do. I drift right through here and then left again. Drop down, drift, and flip over here. I hold this in one direction. I don't chain drift. I'm actually chain drifting significantly less as I climb through the rinks. Unfortunately, I hit lava, so that's never great at this rink. But notice, like here I used to do 3 chain drifts, now I do 2. Because every time you chain drift, your green bar actually stops filling up. Like watch right here. See how it stopped? It stops for a split second when you do that. So now I'm trying to do it less and less, only when it's absolutely needed on sharp angles. Here we kind of right up the wall, not ideal, it makes this kind of awkward and have to take this pretty wide. But again, see, we drift left, we have 800 speed, we don't need to release. We drift right, now we release. This lines us up perfect for here. I always have 3 turbos for here, which I activate in a row. I release the drift over there because again, we had 800 speed before the jumps, so we were in no rush to release it. You know, I would rather release it on the wall and reactivate the drift speed there. Again, we drift left, then right. Unfortunately, it kind of felt like my car just didn't drift. But again, since I realized it, I immediately just gave up on the line. I was like, okay. Here I chain drift a little bit extra compared to the other 2 laps. And the reason I do that is because we didn't get the drifts in that earlier section. So I know, compared to my normal line, I have to make up that speed. Or that drift bar to get the drift at the end. The turbo at the end. So again, trying to take these as tight as possible to be able to shave time past this person. He does air flips here, and I do believe that actually is faster, and it's a line I probably should look into. Not something I do currently, though. I try to take this as tight as possible, and unfortunately take it a little bit too tight, allowing me to bounce off the wall. So again, learn this pattern that I'm doing right there. Same with right here. Turbo, carry the drift. Turbo again, release on the wall, drop down, and start drifting. So I'm hoping he doesn't have a turbo. Unfortunately for me, he does. So there's no chance that... Oh, wait! No, just kidding. But look how close this was. 0.001 seconds. He took that really wide at the end, and that almost punished him. He wanted to play it safe by not risking getting hit by the flags, but I knew I needed to take the tighter line. Okay, on to the next one. And surprisingly, even though that was a second, we still did manage to climb ranks. I'm sad I couldn't give you guys a bunch of firsts in a row, but realistically at the end of the day, I can't win them all. We started getting queues a little bit faster now. As you notice, that was only like, I think 2 or 3 minutes, which is fantastic for my rank. Normally, they can take upwards of 40. So this was a really lucky day where I got a bunch in a row. It's actually the main reason I haven't done this kind of series again. So on basically every map, I try to get a drift right off the start, as you see there. This one I do 1 drift left, then 1 drift right. And then I try to take this as tight as possible. As you can see, we end up gaining a lot of ground on them. So we hit both of those as doubles, but unfortunately those are the only 2 we hit as doubles. So people then again pass us, because they hit probably more. Luckily for us, we managed to hit this at a right angle and get 2 of them. And hitting 2 of them there is actually more important than hitting 1 everywhere else. That's how I was managing able to keep up with Jonathan here. Here I'm realizing Jonathan's car is blocking me, so I'm being very careful about how I'm drifting as to not get bumped into the lava. I'm using draft off of him to be able to pass him, being very careful to use my positioning for my advantage. Just because someone's ahead of you doesn't mean that's a good thing for them necessarily. If you can get speed off of them, it's just as good for you. So again, I try to hold this as close as possible. This one I end up actually taking pretty wide. So this time I'm going to try to, I get 3 double activations. So I got 2 and 3. You actually have to drift on them kind of on an angle to be able to get the double activation. If you hit them dead on, like I did just there on the ceiling, you only get 1. So you kind of have to drift sideways into them. It's really weird. So again, we drift around through the coals. This allows us to come through here with over like 1,000 speed. I've started using my turbo here because I'm confident that I will have enough turbo at the end to still have an extra one. This allows me to fly past everyone else. A lot of people lack their drifting in this map and won't have enough for 2 at the end. And by 2 at the end, I mean 1 there and 1 at the end. A lot of people will save them for the end. That's what I used to do. But again, we're going to try for 3 double activations. See how I drift up and down through them? There I kind of miss. And there also I did not drift up and down on it, so I only got 2 of the double activations. Luckily I got 2 on that one, which allows us to fly past everyone again. We're now in a comfortable spot, assuming that they don't have 2 turbos at the end. Drop down, drift, and we know this will fill our bar, which it does. We turbo as soon as we get to the wall, and the reason I do it there is so that I'm slowed down enough that I can still comfortably hit all these boost pads. We flip to the right since the right is the inside track, which allows us to shave off an extra half second. And we comfortably win by, you know, 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds on every other player. Okay, rank 33. That's pretty good. We're climbing pretty decently. Let me know if this content is useful, if you prefer this, breakdown guides, etc. Routes, in-depth guides. I'm not sure what content most benefits everyone else that's watching. Anaconda is by far my worst map. I think I mentioned it earlier with Sidewinder. The drift-heavy ones, not so much my forte. So I hardly even feel qualified to speak to it. As you can see, I missed the boost pad right off the start. This is the line that I generally go for, though. I try to take the turns, obviously, as tight as possible. A few of them I intentionally drive in the lava, or I'll call it lava, but the coals, to shave off time. And again, I don't know if it's faster or not, it's just the lines I do. This is one of my weaker maps. I do air flip there because our speed wasn't down to 570. We don't need to release our drift yet. Here we release our drift after every turn. All these ones I do drive in the coals, by the way. Like right there, I actually was trying to drive in the coals. Just with no luck. Here on laps 2 and 3, I'll drift 1 small drift left, and then turbo and turn right around that turn. Do pay attention to my turbo spots. I believe they are relatively correct. In theory, if you drift a little better on the 3rd lap, there's only 1 slight difference of where you use it. But see again, our speed wasn't down to 570 there, so we were waiting to release it. So here, I drive on the coals to get a little bit closer line, and same with here, I try to drive on the coals to get a little bit closer line. Because you're only over them for like 1/4 second when you're turboing, so I think it's beneficial. So again, 1 drift left, start to drift right and turbo immediately. And if you're a little bit better, you'd actually have enough drift to have a turbo right here. I don't, because I'm bad. But somehow, this seems like it's still first. So there you go. Pretty close to 5 firsts in a row. We were off by 0.001 second on Sidewinder. But overall good. Let me know if this content's useful. Make sure you subscribe, like, all that stuff. Join the Discord though, because it's really fun. We've been hanging out a lot and racing with a lot of people and helping everyone get to Unreal or higher. And if you somehow made it this far into the video and you're still listening to me ramble, use creator code lane_racing in the shop. Because why not? It supports me and doesn't cost anything. Woo! Okay, till the next video. Have fun, everyone.